this gathering with Jane Kennard and me, Jane's helper. I'm Joanna. I've been working with Jane for almost 40 years, which seems like a long, long time, and it is a long time. Jane and I first met really about the time my son was sick. I lost a son when he was 9, and this was a long time ago. And one of the benefits, well, there's no benefit to losing a son, but one of the things that came out of this, a wonderful thing, was I met Jane and I ended up working with her and learning about the spirit guides who Jane is able to channel. I wonder if Jane, if you would start talking a little bit about how that began for you.
Oh, well, thank you, Joanna, for being in my life. You've been truly a treasure. And it was very, very sad way we met. But the very first meeting we had was before your son was ill. I don't know if you remember. I do remember that really well. Yeah. And that was back before I did channeling. I just did regular readings, if you'll recall. And my whole life, I've heard guide talk to me. And then as time went past, I started hearing other people's guides. And I thought everybody did. I didn't know that this was an unusual. It isn't unusual, actually. Children do hear their guides all the time. In fact, it's quite common and not that unusual. And luckily, a big family, they were busy. They didn't have time to tell me, don't be silly. That's not what's. But I learned after a while that it wasn't everybody who did that. And so I kept it to myself. And then over time, I just started, well, the first reading I actually did for somebody else was actually someone you knew.
Oh, Gail.
Yes, Gail. And I don't know. Someone phoned me that you knew and said that this friend had had this terrible reading and was very upset and was really afraid. And what should they do? And I said, well, for heaven's sakes, that's ridiculous. Send her over. And that was my first reading. And what I used to do is just take commentary. I'd hold something that they had and I'd pick up what their guide was saying. And that's how it went. And then eventually I became unable to just do a reading. It was like my mouth was like I was in slow motion. And I was like, I felt like I was an interloper between two beings. Really, it was very strange. And long story short, I let myself just melt into it through a series of different attempts. And lo and behold, channeling started. I didn't even know what channeling was when it started. I didn't even know that it existed. And so I quit for quite a while. And then I started again because of wonderful people like you in my life. I started trusting in it. And yeah, that's what happens. Now I channel not only my own guide, but other guides as well. And there seems to be, you know this very well, there seems to be a difference. And that's so wonderful to have you here because I don't have any memory of what happens. I go into this deep state of self-hypnosis, basically. And I don't remember any of it. And I would return if I didn't have someone here with me, someone like you or Clark, then I wouldn't not be able to help them if they were confused about something. So it was very important, not only for that, but also grounding me. I have to have somebody there to bring me back. Not that I wouldn't come back, but
well, I think it's true that not all channelers are able to bring through many different guides. I think that's one of the most wonderful things for people is that it's not as though you're speaking with just one guide, but you have access to all the wisdom and even the personal details because a person's individual guides will come through. At a time like this, we'll probably, I mean, there are individual guides and there are what we call universal guides, or there may be many different levels of guides. We don't really know, but there are the higher guides, which probably are the ones that would speak to through Jane today, because we're talking about very important questions in our world. And yeah, So I hear we have a question uh, from Lori Sue Cragen Clement. She says, I heard my guides at a very young age, not realizing who or what they were about. As often happens, the experience was ridiculed. Was this your experience, Jane?
No, I wasn't ridiculed. At least I don't remember being ridiculed. If I was confident enough to say, never mind, I like this being I'm hearing. Um, there was a famous phrase my mother would say, oh, you're giving me the heebie-jeebies. Because I would say something was going to happen or had a feeling about something and sort of dismissed it. But I was blessed with a grandmother that was very spiritual. And she used to just say, oh, just, never mind. You're just carry on with it. And no, I'm sorry that she was, that Sue, was that your name? Sue?
Lori Sue?
Sue? Lori Sue. So I'm sorry, Lori Sue, that was the beginning. But know that your guide would never want you to be upset or harmed by it. And I'm glad that you just sort of stayed in connection and open, because it's so open when you're young. It's just so simple. It's not a complicated thing to communicate with your guides. It's, I see all these different people that say you have to do all these different rituals. Well, yeah, you can make a ritual. You can do all kinds of things like that, but it isn't necessary. It's as natural as being present in a body, being in communication with your guides. Their job is just to be with you, to communicate with you. And I'm so glad that you've just kept up with it. And I'm no doubt that you are stronger and more secure in your own being by knowing this wonderful, loving communication. Was that the only question? It was just about
so far.
Okay.
I can talk a little bit about how so many people who don't have that clear communication with their guides can have communication with their guides in different ways. For me, it began when I was struggling to find meaning in my son's death, and I started writing in a book. I would write a question, and then I would just kind of keep writing, and I would write an answer. And it didn't seem to be coming from, it was coming through my hand. It's not like somebody took my hand and started writing, but I would think those thoughts and I would write them down, and then I'd look at them later and I'd think, wow, that actually answered the question. So there's so many ways that we can connect with spirit. And maybe I know there are other ones. Many people walk in nature. We have a question here from Huayelf. We continue to miss our son, Oscar. Is he okay, truly?
Absolutely.
Tell us more.
Yes, it's very hard. It's very hard when you don't have the body there to see and feel him. But I want you to know that the bond, I can feel the bond you have with the child never goes away. Never goes away. If anything, when the body is no longer limiting in some ways, you might think, the spirit is stronger. So the bond you have with this one is stronger. So talk to him, tell him you love him, tell him you miss him, get mad sometimes, just be totally as if he was still present with you. And you'll find over time that you don't feel him as much because he has things to do yet. He's not, the time in between lifetimes isn't exactly sitting on a cloud with a harp or anything like that. It's a learning time. It's an intense time of energy. So just as you would if he was physically present, love him, send him love, open your heart, allow yourself your grief, allow yourself you're missing the physical part because you're still in a body and you have those limitations, but know that the bond of love is very much still with him, very present. You know this, Joanna.
I do. And I'm remembering that when my son died, I wanted more than anything to hear him. And I really did not. I could write these words, but then I just felt like there was a huge hole inside me. And when I finally was able to talk to the guides about it, they said that hole is filled with God. And it just, I could feel it. I feel it right now. I feel that my son is still very close to me, but I do know that he is, like Jane said, he's preparing because he's going to be coming back in another body, in another situation. And when I learned about this, it made me feel so comforted. And it really has helped me a lot.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yes, I know I've lost people in my life too, and it isn't that you don't feel the pain and the loss, but it gives you a strength to know that there is a connection that never disappears, it never dies. And guides will say you never die. There is no death. The physical world has its limitations. It's about learning and about growing and about evolving your energy, but your spirit never dies. It never ends. It goes on, circles within circles. Remember the symbol they gave us about what life is about? You go around and around and around many times, learning each time, heightening your vibration. And then there comes a point when the no longer vibration can stay in that body. You must pass through another time of transformation. And in between, life is just as busy as it is here. Apparently, it's not as heavy. It's lighter. But yeah, it's a continuum.
For me, it was really wonderful to learn about how we make promises in between our lifetimes, but that's for us to grow, and we're all doing that. Sometimes we do it faster than other times, but now one of the things we wanted to talk about at this time was how to navigate this difficult time in the world where people are confused, and we just feel, I think, with the political situation in America is being so fraught and complicated, and many of us are, I believe, really, really fearful because we don't know what's going to happen. It feels like democracy is being disabled, and we are frightened to see the disintegration of the values, and people are distressed. And I wonder if this is something that you could maybe channel the guide, and we could talk to them about that. Is that something that?
Definitely, yes. I think I should channel for that. I had a wonderful meditation this morning about it, and I thought that maybe first I should, years ago, Joanna, you'll remember this too, that Spirit started telling us about that we were present in a time of what was called the overturn. And I didn't know what the overturn meant. It meant nothing. It sounded like a little strange. And apparently there was a purpose in giving a word that doesn't really connect with anything, one thing, other than being topsy-turvy. Well, I don't think any of us realized it would be nearly what it is, what has occurred. But apparently it happened at about 1960. There was a huge bump in the universe, or whatever you want to call it, like an increase of energy where a lot of growth happened, both in the physical beings and in the very planet itself. And it's very true when you look back to what the change in the world in the last not even 100 years. But anyway, they said that in that time, because there are brand new souls, medium-aged souls, and old souls. Medium-aged souls are the ones that are great teachers and politicians and leaders, and they like to get up and teach people and help people. New souls are brand new, shiny, sparkly idiots, basically. They are full of nonsense, full of fun, but also can get into all kinds of difficulties because they have no depth yet. They haven't evolved. They haven't had many lifetimes. They don't have much empathy, substance. I don't want to be negative. They're just as wonderful as an old soul. And the old souls, on the other hand, are very evolved. They don't really want to stand on the precipice and teach everybody. They would rather just let the world go by and see how it has its own lovely harmony and balance. And they will teach singularly and quietly, but not necessarily want to be in the limelight. So at the 60s, apparently this huge growth happened, leaving this big vacant space. So
Right.
that now we were now being taught by new souls. We were being led by new souls for politicians, etc. And not that the old ones disappeared.
Is this still happening?
It is still happening.
Yeah.
And the old, well, yeah, because at that point they were still quite young in body, I guess. I don't know exactly how it all happened, but so now we are. This is like the end of it. And they said as something dies out and it gets louder and noisier, as a flame burns out, it gets more brilliant. The religions will get wilder and more exotic. The politicians will begin more, well, autocratic, more feisty, be my way or there's no way. And anyway, the side, it is so polar right now. And it isn't the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's just the good and the bad. And it's not a thing of judgment. It's just that they have not evolved. They are not there yet. But I do think we should channel and ask those questions.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to the guides about that at this time. Pretty important.
No more questions at this time. I'm so glad. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to just light a candle now and set an intention or a prayer or whatever you want to call it. I always started every channeling session with this. As I light this candle, there we go. So let's set the intention. And I ask in the name of the highest, the brightest, and the purest for healing energy, for healing words, for all of us, for those who ask, those who have joined us, and all many in our world. Please help us see the way. And I'll talk to you in a bit. And I have to hold something while I do this, so I'm asking Clark now, because Joanna, you aren't here to give me something to hold. I always hold an element of metal when I do readings, and it's just my own little ritual. And I will do so now. And I will.
So.
Show it. So I have borrowed his ring. It's my anchor.
I was just going to say, when Jane channels, it takes her a little while. She'll see her go into a meditation, and then you'll see the new energy of the guide come through. And at that time, I will speak to the guide and I will ask about this time in our world.
Before I'm already starting to go, but before I go, if you hear little Rocket snoring, don't worry about him. He is a doll, and he is so a part of this. So don't be afraid that anything has happened in the background here. It's just Rocket. He loves the energy of the guides, and he goes into the deepest sleep. So
he's a little dog.
He's a little dog. Oh yes, yes. He's not a guide. He's the guide in the physical form. Okay, I will talk to you later. Clark, would you cover that candle for a minute? Thank you. Hello, my dear.
Hello and welcome.
I welcome you.
So you've come to tell us a bit about who you are?
Oh, I'm a being not of many words, but one that's been a long time with this
Yes.
enchanted being. and
So
and you, my blessed one.
I
Mhm,
know you very well. And
mhm,
would you like to begin by talking a little bit about what's happening in the world right now?
mhm. Individuals seem to be having quite an exhausting experience. It seems as if, and it was understood, that not too many understand the true history of the evolution of beings spiritually. They understand somewhat of what they have contrived to create, to be taught to some, but the true understanding of the history of the physical experience needs to have this spiritual side of the understanding as well. And that is what is missing a great deal in your physical world right now. Mhm. Um, Many that have come to speak, I will allow them to speak, my blessed one.
Right. Well, we'll wait for another guide, but it's lovely to talk to you and thank you for coming.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Hello, my dear.
Hello and welcome. You're speaking to many people right now who are very concerned about what is happening in our world, particularly since the new president in the United States has taken office. Do you have any um, guidance for us about how to navigate this difficult time?
Individually, you must always speak and seek your truth and find like minded beings that stand in their own light and strength and have a commonality with you. For now, you must understand that community is more necessary than ever. You must remember you are all present in a physical world. The physical world has demands and expectations for your growth. It means physically to be present. There is a great deal of technology that has been created that has construed much of the understanding of growth, but a tool indeed, but not the actual essence of the physical growth that is necessary. That is at hand must be done through the actual physical beings, the bodies, the placement, the walking, the talking, the movement through space and time. It might seem unimportant, but in fact, you will find the most important things now will be the true elements of how to survive in the physical body: the eating, sleeping, the having a situation that brings you an exchange of money, a home. You see, these things have been put all on the back burner, the unimportant part of the stove, and you're now listening just to the spitting of the fire, and that has caused the great imbalance.
I understand what you're talking about because I find myself that I'm compelled to read online news about what is going on, and it's sucking me into a place where I don't really think it's a good place to be. I think you're alluding to that. Is that true?
Yes, it's important to know which way the wind blows, the information that is present in your world, to hear it, to listen intently and wholly in the presence. But if one only listens to that, one starts to negate the very necessary parts of your life. Beings cannot be strong and all stand together if they are all frailing and trying very hard to be somewhere where they are not. You feel helpless when you hear about many of the things that occur because you are not present in those times. But you are present at the edge of the ocean, and that can indeed affect the whole of the ocean. By doing that is right for you, by nurturing, by feeding, by caring for your fellow man, by caring for your fellow land that you walk upon. You see, in understanding what oneness means, it means loving thyself, loving thy spirit, thy strength, thy being, and all its processes and all its abilities to love others. But only when you truly understand the love of self can you understand the love of others, and that you must stand with those like-minded beings. And there's nothing wrong with finding those that are positive in the understanding everyone will be somewhat different. There are other dimensions where every being is a clone of another, and you would never want that, though there is a certain element of that present in your physical world right now. But the individuality and the oneness is the most amazing thing in the strength that you all can be. You will see great upheavals. You will see again times of war and words that are negative and very powerful and frightening. But your whole development on the physical plane has been in these places before. You have found yourselves at times of war and times of struggle, times of loss of life and needing to do the right things by your inner being, where your heart lies. You can feel the truth. It vibrates within you. If you were to do an act against that very truth that is your being, you would feel uncomfortable and dissatisfied with it. And that's why all beings do know the truth that lies within them. These new souls do not have an understanding of the truth except a sheer desire to do what they want to do. They have not evolved to the place of understanding the love of others yet. They are simply in their own egotistical need to fulfill certain roles of growth. There has never been such growth, and it is great upon your physical world. It evolves very much so. Could we not choose a better way to learn than to actually see that is so very clearly before your very eyes, actions that are so against the very growth of your being? This is a time of great growth. Choose for your being. Choose what is right for you. Listen not at the very moment that it upsets your being. Know that the truth where lies in your land that you develop upon. And be the light that you are in your darkness.
I like that. Be the light that you are. We all are lights. And if we cower in fear and look away, we're not really able to deal with it. So human connection, is that what you're saying, is of great importance?
Yes. It always has been. You are never meant to be completely singular, and yet you are to experience the separation by being separated vibrationally, being in a body. To love that body, that amazing thing you created to carry your spirit. And to understand that to love you, you must love others and their situations and feel for their pain. But you must do what is possible for you to do, and that is closest to you. Speak your truth. Be the light that you are. Trust by sending the love and energy. It has an effect. It has an effect on all beings. No energy ever sent doesn't affect. And that goes for the negative energy, I must say. Those that do only want the negative and the power, they do have an effect on others. They do have an effect on very new souls that do not have a power within themselves to reject that is not right for them. They seek only the light and the true attention that they are receiving from that negativity. They are easy to control at this time, but that does not mean you should not love them. Love them, the most beautiful child. Give them time. They will grow. Be not afraid of this time. Good will out. Look at the history. See the circle that you are present in. Many times the circle of life has come to times of great angst. It has offered growth. Is that not but a great and precious thing? You are in a physical body, in a physical world, to learn, to grow. It is a good thing. And those that grow and have the difficulty seeing need to see it in very concrete ways, and that is what is experienced by them. They will see the negative, and they will see what harm, and eventually, in the presence of all wonderful energy, they will grow, and you will find harmony again. But it does not mean you sit and deny that is. It does not mean you do not use your voice and your presence to be that light. And that light often might be by using a voice, even though you might be afraid to speak. Old souls often do not want to cause discord or discomfort, even in those that they are present with, and speak the most ridiculous nonsense to them. They do not want to cause them to be unhappy with them. But speak your truth in the gentle, loving way that you will. Do not take up arms. Take up words of love.
Words of love. Yeah. That's good advice. Sometimes difficult to accept, though, because we are frightened and we kind of want to protect ourselves or fight back. But I'm hearing you say that we should speak from our hearts and not be afraid. Is that true?
Yes. The fight is when often too many words are more physical actions that are often demanded when you have such new souls in the fray. But try to avoid the physical actions against these new souls, though they may demand it and cause you to find a way to force the issues. Those things you may see in time, but you are going to see a great upheaval in your earth. It's not just going to be about political things. There's going to be some demands made upon you by Mother Earth. And these things will bring you to the attention, and they will see those that have absolutely inability to control and to help. It'll be seen. But you, the ancient angels, will be present, and you will help. We in spirit fear. We trust. We trust that you will grow, that you will take the time to ask for yourself, that you will bring the spiritual understanding into your lives and understand that this time that you are now entering into, where the silver line crosses through the spiritual, scientific moment, that you will take up the speaking of the true spirituality. I'm not speaking of a religion that was written many, many years past. I'm speaking of the energies that you all be, the amazing beings that you all are.
The energy of love.
Yes.
I wonder if there are other people out there who might wish to ask a question of this guide. Clark, are there no questions? Oh, here's Lori Sue again. Lori Sue says, thank you. Truly, I've been through a bit of hell over the course of the last several months, physically, mentally, emotionally. Will this move to a new apartment transpire as hoped in March?
One moment.
A new guide is coming through now.
Hello, my dear. You have taken actions, and that's what you needed so to do, and I am so happy of this. It's hard, I know, to sometimes create openings, to know which direction is right, to leave situations that have been supportive and yet negative and yet harmful. Oh dear. So, a new beginning, a new opening, but it's the same circle of love. Take all you have learned from life. Look at those things that have repeated over and over again and embrace them and realize and look at it deeply. that I am doing again, is it familiar? Have I done this before? And what do I do differently this time? That will I take the knowledge that this is within my being, and I will move forward with that knowledge and create the world and the path that I want. Doesn't mean, my dear, that you won't have times of growth. Lives have difficulty. That's what growth is. But it will be less draining for you, indeed. I love you, my dear. You're not alone. You're doing very, very well.
I've heard it said that the friction that we experience in the world is what causes our growth. Is that true?
Yes,
I know it's true.
I believe you were told a long time ago that a perfect life is one with peaks and valleys that create friction that creates growth.
Was it you who told us that? That is the essence of it, really.
It is indeed. It is about owning your own path. It is about realizing you are of your own vibration, and yet you can harmonize with others. You are all energies, beautiful energies, some quicker, some slower, some more brightly shining from within, some wanting to hide that light. But all beautiful energies, fractures of the great light, the multiplicity, the wonder of the oneness.
So in times when there's a lot of, shall we say, friction happening on the earth, what is the best way for us to ground ourselves in navigating this time?
Oh, wow. Yes. I haven't forgotten what it's like to be present in the physical world. And when one is feeling the anxiousness of anxious actions about yourself, you need to reunite yourself. You need to remember who you are and see your world and touch your world and walk upon it and feel it and be present in it. And there are amazing things that are harmonized with all of the cells of your body. If you're thinking about it, if your body is taking on too much anxious energy, music and laughter and the songs of your world, your birds, your wonderment, these things are all things that help ground you and help heal you. Never forget those things. Remember who you are. And oftentimes when you're just anxious, it's because you're thinking of things not yet even occurring. A creative mind is an amazing thing for many things, but it also can exhaust a physical body. In order to pull the mind to the spirit mind and to know that there is a greater thought than even the one creating the anxious thought.
Right.
Trust
the soul, the deep part of us. So I know that we do tend to get wired into looking for bad news. They call it doom scrolling on the computer, finding things that support our fear or make us more anxious. When I hear you saying it was best to get up and move around and dance a little bit, go out for a walk, watch the birds, breathe deeply, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. You know, the original intention of fear was to protect one's physical body. It is now, when your world has been manipulated to control people, unfortunately. And you must remember that the original idea of fear was simply to get away from something. So if you're feeling fearful, get away from those thoughts and do something for you. But understand as well that other beings will use fear to control your actions, your mind, your thoughts. That is what is being used to control these new souls right now. You could even that you are living in a time of free-flowing fear and anxiety amongst those. And I'm not surprised that you absorb some of it, because that is what happens when you stand next to or hear the very energies of another being with such opposed beliefs that you have. So remember the issues of control, and that you have the ability to allow only your being in control, only your thoughts. You can assist in the controlling of others by speaking your truth and trying to teach how you live for others, but that is truly the only way it happens. Fear has been manipulated many times in your physical world. This is not the first time. It was believed many of these books of teachings used fear as the greatest premise to control being. Don't dip into it. Be the light that you are. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Be the light that you are. And we all are lights. We all are sparks of light, trying to do the best we can on a planet that's sometimes very difficult.
Mm. The physical domain is very strong. Many of the elements of reality that you are experiencing is its voice to help you grow. Remember that.
The voice of the planet?
Yes.
You mean like weather?
Yes, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Weather, volcanoes,
Forest fires.
Forest fires. They're all expressions of energy, my dear. Just a release of energy. Because your planet has become far too overheated by too much energy that's not moving forward. Releasing is very important. You can control it. You're not alone.
You've given me a great deal to think about, and others as well, I'm sure.
And so be it, my dearest one. I love you.
I love you too. I have a question from Kimberly, who's asking about her son. She says, is our son healthy and happy?
Hmm. Hello, my dear. I hear your question, and I am concerned about your hesitance. You do not trust, my blessed one. You need to find a depth within yourself and trust. The inability to find your own strength is causing you great hesitancy. But yet you are a powerful being. You have made amazing decisions and choices, often for the good of others. Blessed one, trust and take some time to explore an amazing path you have walked. Bless you, my dear. I am with you.
Kimberly, that was your guide speaking directly to you. Is there anyone else who wishes to come through and speak?
Yes.
Welcome. Who are you?
A scribe.
A scribe. An ancient scribe?
Yeah. From a time of pharaohs.
Pharaohs. Mm-hmm. Have I spoken to you before?
Yes.
Welcome. What would you like to tell us about this time we're in right now? How can we move forward? How can we mitigate the destruction that's happening in our world? How can we make it a better place?
Hold the space. Falter not. Stand strong within your truth. Things will change rather rapidly when they start. Don't fear. Trust that there are wise ones that can speak their truth, that can take actions where you wouldn't believe it possible. There are many ancient ones doing the work they never chose to do, but willing now to teach, to help.
So we as individuals should not be afraid.
No,
We meet people, like-minded people and what small actions can we take?
no action is too small. All actions lead to the eventual growth of the being, movement, but more so than a lot of misdirected words, actions, presence, taking up space, actually standing in the place to hold the space in love. That is what will be necessary. You're going to see great upheavals, perhaps, because there is a certain element of chance. I know well of this element of chance. It can blow the winds of sand in the wrong direction quite easily. And to bring it back takes more earthly work than, well, some civilizations can achieve it. Some cannot. That will be up to all of you. Those hearing these words and those that in time will hear it from others after you speak it. It moves slowly, but with great power. Be at peace. Trust.
Thank you for speaking. I wonder if one of our son's guides could, this is from Haya, could tell us how he is.
Good. There isn't a word that really describes the element of growth accurately in the physical world.
Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes we get stuck.
A place of no growth is not a place to stay in for too long. How to know if you're in a place of no growth? If you're doing the same thing over and over again, not making any choices differently, and finding yourself feeling somewhat unwilling. Willingness, choices, light, movement, these are the signs that you will move forward, even when you are feeling exhausted from it. Your exhaustion is purely too much vibration in the conscious mind. The different parts of the brain are overactive with much of this technology. You can see that you have We had technology too. It was different, but it also caused the demise of many. I have
Oh,
spoken. Be at peace, my child. I love
thank you for speaking.
you. Oh, I'm here. Thanks, clerk. Hi. Hi, Joanna.
Hi, Jane. So
Oof.
for you, when Jane first comes back, it's like she's just woken up from a deep sleep and she's in a very bright room.
Oh, very busy room.
You still see a lot of energy and guides around.
It's very busy here. Yes. It's been busy all night, actually. The whole house has been alive. Whenever I do anything and
Believe it.
ask for the energies, they line up. It gets very busy. They're all wonderful, and I do appreciate them, and I thank them all very much.
Well, we spoke to a guide who called himself a scribe, and I believe he was a guide of mine that
Oh,
I saw a long time ago from ancient Egypt.
oh,
Yeah, yeah, came through. Um, I'm trying to remember now what was said. It was really a lot about not being fearful, about standing, finding our strength, finding our loving power, being who we are, accepting that we're in a time of growth. Um, Nothing I haven't thought
heard
of
before.
before. Yeah, but it's very confirming to hear that um, there is no need to be afraid, that things can change quickly, that we need to connect with other beings and speak. I don't know. What are you hearing, Jane?
I would like to try to understand those that seem to have manipulated other people. I don't believe in a devil, as you know. I don't believe in Satan. I think there is only good in spirit, but I do believe evil does exist here. I do believe that people can use their energies in negative ways to cause discord and harm to people, especially people that they seem to have some kind of desire to have power over. And I don't think I'm crazy saying that I believe that Elon Musk is not a very good person. I think that he's using his opportunity of growth and to be present in a body in a very unhealthy way. Unhealthy for himself, for his children, for his world, and the people that he's controlling.
Mhm.
I believe he's in a element of power, running on power because of a empty, loving space inside him. He's never been truly touched in a loving way. I don't know what, but I feel his father and him had something strange. And I shouldn't speak this. It's not my right to do a reading for someone. But I would like to try to understand that person. And I do ask guides what is happening. They tell me just love them, and stay clear with your own choices. I do believe that President Trump is an unwell being. I think he's mentally unwell. I think the world will see that pretty soon. There's a few others in this world as well that are not well, and for some reason, because of money, they seem to have gained power. I do think people are using money as a god or a purpose to be alive, which is it's a tool. It's a great tool. It should create balance, but it doesn't. Not right now.
Can be used in ways of huge power that is not necessarily good.
Yes. Yeah.
A question here, and maybe you can address this, Jane. It's from someone calling themselves Peace. And the question is, does saying the Hare Krishna mantra remove karma?
Any positive thoughts create positive actions and positive forward movement. Any ritual you want to create or make, it's up to you. You don't need to, as my guide will tell me, connecting with the positive energies that surround us is instantaneous. You can do it in an instant, and we all have bad thoughts. We all have moments where we think something and then you go, oh, wait a minute, but I didn't mean that. I would never. So you instantly erase that by your positive thought over it. It completely negates the negative thought. You're not harming yourself by having it. You're just simply living in a really difficult learning experience. But if you have found Hare Krishna to be a soothing, releasing energy, by all means use it. I believe anybody should have a teddy bear, a softie, something that makes them feel comfortable. And if that's your ritual, then so be it. I hold this ring. It's soothing and comforting. It's what I do.
Something to hold.
Yes, indeed.
So we have another question for you, Jane, from Michelle Evans. She says, I would like to know how my mother and father are in heaven. Not hearing anything here.
I'm thinking, I'm just trying to pick up. I'm hearing this guide saying, well.
They're well.
They're well. They're well. They're both doing very different things. And apparently there's a whole lot of humor around them. So I would say they're doing just fine. I think there may have been some actions that they did in the physical world that they now think is quite hilarious, because it seems to me that there's a lot of laughter. Without tuning into a guide, I'm picking up that they're fine. They're good.
That's wonderful.
And there's some kind of big question there, and I don't know what it is. I think Michelle is. This was maybe a big act of trust by putting in that question. Maybe that's what they're. Something about that. It's interesting. Okay, that's just me. Okay. How are we doing for time?
Well, we're approaching our hour. It's been very interesting what the guides have said. Are you hearing something now?
I'm hearing that there is so much love in spirit. And that when we feel this stress on us, you often think that they're not there with you, but they are more so. And just open your heart to them. I understand that it might be a concept you're unfamiliar with, but everybody knows about angels or fairies or a little bird or just a being of love that totally wants to be with you and help you through these times. And honestly, I have even said at times when I've had difficulties, it's yours. I can't handle this one. I'm handing it over to you. So I hand it to my guide, and it's amazing how things will just evolve. They just move on. Believe, trust, believe in yourself, believe in the amazing love that is there for you, because you are worth it. I love you all.
Thank you, Jane. Those are wonderful words to end this with.
I love you, Joanna. I love you, Clark. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.